From the moment Frank Caprio first stepped into the courtroom, he wasn't just any judge. He was different. In a world where the gavel often comes down with cold, unfeeling finality, Caprio became a symbol of compassion, fairness, and humanity. His court was not just a place of law. It was a theater of empathy, where ordinary people found a chance to breathe, to hope, and sometimes to laugh through the tears. People across the country and even around the world fell in love with the man behind the bench. Caprio's rise to fame wasn't overnight. Born and raised in Providence, Rhode Island, he knew hardship firsthand. Growing up in a working-class neighborhood, he witnessed struggle, sacrifice, and the weight of community expectations. But it was precisely this upbringing that shaped his approach to justice. Unlike other judges who might focus solely on rules and statutes, Caprio focused on people. Their stories, their struggles, their humanity. He really listened, in a way that made every defendant feel seen and heard. The world first noticed him when segments from his courtroom began circulating online. Videos of Judge Caprio showing kindness, understanding, and sometimes even humor went viral. One moment someone would enter his courtroom worried and defeated, and by the time they left, there was a glimmer of hope in their eyes. Viewers were captivated not by scandal but by genuine humanity. He became a beacon of light in an age where public figures are often criticized for lacking empathy. But fame brought more than admiration. It brought pressure. Suddenly, every decision he made was scrutinized by thousands of people who felt invested in his every move. Yet, Caprio handled it all with grace, never letting the glare of public attention overshadow his commitment to justice. The warmth that had drawn people to him remained untarnished, and his courtroom became a rare space where the law and kindness intersected beautifully. Yet, beneath the smiling face and gentle demeanor, there were challenges that most people couldn't see. The long hours, the emotional weight of hearing countless life-altering cases, and the constant expectation to maintain his public image began to take a toll. The man who had built a reputation on understanding the struggles of others now faced struggles of his own. Hidden, private, and heart-wrenching. This is where the story takes a darker turn, the part that most fans didn't see coming. Behind the viral smiles and viral clips of forgiveness and laughter, a personal tragedy was quietly unfolding, one that would shake not just his family, but an entire community that had come to idolize him. Just when fans thought they knew Judge Frank Caprio as the warm, steadfast figure behind the bench, a devastating revelation surfaced that no one could have predicted. While the world adored his public persona, privately, Caprio was grappling with a personal loss so profound it threatened to upend everything he had built. Family, health, and heartache. The very pillars that had supported him through decades of service were suddenly under siege. It started quietly, almost imperceptibly. Close friends noticed a change in his demeanor, subtle signs of weariness in his eyes, a hesitation in his usual confident voice, moments where laughter seemed just out of reach. Caprio, who had spent his life dispensing justice with empathy, was now facing a judgment he couldn't appeal, the shattering weight of personal tragedy. Rumors began circulating, fueled by snippets of information and hushed conversations. Fans were desperate for clarity, but the judge remained private, shielding his family from the invasive glare of the spotlight. The twist that emerged was heartbreaking. It involved his loved ones in a way that no courtroom could prepare him for. For a man whose life had been dedicated to protecting, listening, and uplifting others, the experience of helplessness was foreign and terrifying. Suddenly, the community that had always leaned on Caprio's compassion found themselves wishing they could return the favor. What made this tragedy even more heartrending was the timing. At a point when Caprio should have been basking in recognition, reflecting on a lifetime of service and influence, he was instead facing unimaginable personal struggles. Friends and family described the scene as one of quiet resilience. Caprio pressed on with his duties, attending hearings, meeting with staff, and offering guidance, all while privately wrestling with an emotional storm. Each day in court became a testament to his strength, a reminder that even heroes are human. Yet the pain didn't stay hidden forever. Social media, relentless as ever, caught wind of the circumstances. Fans who had idolized his kindness felt a pang of guilt. They had celebrated his victories, laughed at his light-hearted courtroom moments, but rarely considered the weight of grief he might carry behind the scenes. Comments flooded online, with people expressing shock, sadness, and a desperate wish for the judge to find peace. This twist in Caprio's personal life sent shockwaves far beyond Providence. It was a stark reminder that fame and public admiration cannot shield anyone from tragedy. And as the story unfolded, it became clear that this heartbreak wasn't a fleeting moment. It was a turning point, one that would leave lasting scars not just on Judge Caprio, but on the community that revered him. Just when it seemed Judge Frank Caprio's personal tragedy was enough to capture headlines, an unexpected scandal emerged that sent shockwaves through the very community that had long celebrated him. For years, Caprio had been seen as untouchable, a figure of integrity, compassion, and fairness. But the truth, as it often does, proved far more complicated than anyone could imagine. The first whispers started subtly. Local media outlets picked up on minor inconsistencies in stories surrounding his courtroom proceedings and personal associations. Nothing overtly illegal, but enough to make people question. Could the beloved judge they trusted so implicitly be involved in something murky? The idea alone sent a ripple of disbelief through fans. Those viral clips of forgiveness and humanity seemed at odds with these unsettling rumors. How could the man who melted hearts online also be at the center of controversy? As the scandal grew, details began to emerge about financial irregularities and undisclosed connections. While nothing criminal had yet been proven, the optics were devastating. Public trust, once Caprio's greatest asset, started to erode. People felt betrayed, not because he had necessarily done wrong, but because the image they had clung to for decades no longer matched the reality. Every news report, every social media post, became a double-edged sword, part fascination, part heartbreak. Adding to the tension was the emotional fallout within his inner circle. Staff, colleagues, and even family members were caught in a whirlwind of scrutiny, speculation, and gossip. Caprio's courtroom, once a place of laughter, understanding, and viral joy, became a backdrop for rumors and judgment. Supporters rallied to defend him, citing years of exemplary service and undeniable humanity. But the scandal left scars that were hard to erase. The most striking part of this episode wasn't just the controversy itself. It was how it humanized Judge Caprio in a way few were prepared for. Suddenly, he was no longer an untouchable figure of admiration. He was a man grappling with both personal heartbreak and public judgment. The tension between who he was and who the public thought he was created a compelling, almost cinematic drama that kept the community and viewers worldwide glued to every update. For many, this scandal was a stark reminder that life, even for someone as admired as Frank Caprio, is messy. Fame cannot protect against rumors, tragedy cannot shield one from scrutiny, and public adoration cannot insulate a person from the consequences of unexpected controversy. It was a moment that shattered illusions and forced fans to confront the complexities of their hero. The impact of Judge Frank Caprio's personal tragedy and the swirling scandal didn't stop at the courtroom. It reached deep into the hearts of fans and family alike. For decades, viewers had tuned in to watch a man who embodied kindness, fairness, and humanity. His courtroom was a place of hope, laughter, and redemption. Now, those very viewers were forced to grapple with a reality that was far darker, far more complicated, and heartbreakingly human. Fans were blindsided. Social media threads erupted with concern, confusion, and disbelief. People who had laughed at his gentle jokes and cried at his acts of mercy were suddenly confronted with the possibility that the man they admired was struggling in ways they could never have imagined. Comments ranged from emotional pleas for him to find peace, to heartfelt reflections on how much he had meant in their lives. Many admitted they felt a deep personal connection with Caprio, as if his courtroom had been a sanctuary for their own emotions. The emotional blow was felt not just as curiosity, but as a shared grief. His struggles were their struggles. Family members, too, felt the weight of public scrutiny like never before. The intimate pain of tragedy was compounded by relentless attention, sometimes invasive and cruel. Loved ones were caught in a delicate balance, trying to shield Caprio while also managing their own grief. For them, every new story or viral clip was a painful reminder that their private sorrow had become a public spectacle. Even the simple act of daily life, going to work, attending school, or running errands, was now colored by judgmental stares, whispered conversations, and the constant knowledge that the world was watching. This emotional strain wasn't limited to close circles. Entire communities were affected, as Caprio had long been a figure of moral guidance and inspiration. Churches, schools, and local organizations that had once celebrated his presence now faced a sobering reality. Heroes are human. As residents discussed the unfolding events, many realized that the idealized version of Caprio they had held onto for years was only a part of the truth. Compassion, fallibility, and tragedy coexist, and sometimes collide, in ways that leave lasting impressions on those who witness them. Yet, even amid grief and scandal, threads of hope persisted. Letters of support, messages of solidarity, and personal stories flooded in from around the globe. Fans reminded themselves and each other that while Judge Caprio's life had taken a darker turn, his core values, decades of empathy, and countless acts of kindness could not be erased. In a way, the emotional toll became a testament to his enduring influence. Even in tragedy, he had created a community bound by empathy and concern, a network of people invested in his humanity. As the dust begins to settle on the whirlwind of tragedy and scandal surrounding Judge Frank Caprio, one question looms larger than any courtroom drama. What's next? After decades of serving with empathy and integrity, after capturing the hearts of millions, the future for Caprio has become uncertain. Not because of law or career, but because of life itself and the emotional weight he now carries. Friends and colleagues describe him as resilient, yet they also acknowledge the toll that recent events have taken. Caprio faces a choice that many in his position never consider: continue to uphold the public persona that made him beloved, or step back to heal, grieve, and protect his personal life. For someone whose identity has been so intertwined with being a public figure of compassion, the decision is anything but simple. Every option carries consequences, and every step is scrutinized. There's also the matter of legacy. Judge Caprio has spent decades building a reputation that transcends Rhode Island, reaching viewers worldwide. But legacy is fragile when confronted with human tragedy and scandal. Supporters are rallying, emphasizing that a single difficult chapter cannot define a lifetime of service. Yet the scrutiny remains intense. Will Caprio be able to reclaim the full measure of respect and admiration he once commanded? Or has the combination of personal grief and public controversy irreversibly shifted the narrative surrounding him? Meanwhile, his family continues to be at the heart of the story. Private struggles, unresolved grief, and the pressure of public attention make the coming months a critical period. How Caprio navigates this personal terrain could redefine him, not as the judge the world thinks it knows, but as a man confronting real human vulnerability. The stakes are higher than any courtroom decision he has ever faced, and every choice carries emotional weight that no gavel can measure. For the community, fans, and even casual viewers who followed his viral moments, there's a collective sense of holding one's breath. The courtroom clips that once brought laughter and tears now serve as reminders of what has been lost, and what could still be salvaged. People are asking themselves, can Frank Caprio emerge from this darker chapter stronger? Can the man who brought hope to so many find hope for himself? What is certain is that the story is far from over. In the coming months, the world will watch closely, hoping for signs of resilience, recovery, and renewal. The beloved judge, the viral sensation, the symbol of humanity in the courtroom. His next steps could either restore faith in the figure they admired or deepen the shadow cast by recent events. The tragedy that has unfolded is a stark reminder. Even heroes face moments that test the very core of who they are, and the outcome is never guaranteed. The question now is not just about headlines or viral videos. It's about life, legacy, and the very human struggle to endure. For Judge Frank Caprio, the next chapter is unwritten, and the world is watching, waiting, hoping, and fearing all at once. As the story of Judge Frank Caprio unfolds, it becomes painfully clear that the man we all thought we knew, kind, empathetic, and almost larger than life, has been quietly enduring a storm the world couldn't see. For decades, his courtroom was a sanctuary. People came in anxious, worried, and defeated, and left with hope renewed, their burdens momentarily lifted. Caprio's gentle words, thoughtful gestures, and moments of humor weren't just for entertainment. They were lifelines. Millions watched from afar, inspired by a man who seemed to embody the best of humanity. And yet, the tragedy that has now enveloped him serves as a stark reminder that even heroes are not immune to life's most brutal blows. The heartbreak began behind closed doors, away from viral clips and smiling fans. Personal loss struck at the heart of Caprio's private life, testing him in ways no courtroom could prepare him for. Family struggles, emotional turmoil, and private grief combined into a weight that no public admiration could ease. While viewers celebrated his compassion on screen, he grappled with pain in silence, a reality that only deepens the tragedy. The man who gave comfort to countless strangers now faced a situation where empathy alone could not shield him. Every case he presided over, every act of kindness he displayed in public, contrasted sharply with the grief and uncertainty he faced in private. And just when the personal heartbreak seemed overwhelming enough, the emergence of scandal threatened to shake the very foundation of the life he had built. Rumors, allegations, and questions about financial and personal dealings sparked confusion and distrust. While nothing criminal was proven, the damage to perception was real. The community that had long viewed him as untouchable now saw cracks in the image of the man they admired. The dichotomy between the public persona and the private reality created tension not only for Caprio but for everyone who loved and supported him. Fans found themselves grappling with conflicting emotions: loyalty, disbelief, sadness, and a desperate wish to understand the truth. The emotional toll rippled far beyond Caprio himself. Family members struggled under the weight of both grief and relentless public scrutiny. The intimate pain of loss became intertwined with the stress of living under the spotlight, where every move could be misinterpreted, every decision judged. Supporters and fans experienced their own heartbreak, as the people they had come to admire and celebrate were revealed to be human, flawed, and vulnerable. In a world hungry for stories of perfection and certainty, the reality of Judge Caprio's situation was almost unbearable to witness. Yet, even in the midst of grief, scandal, and public scrutiny, there is a thread of hope, a reminder that this story is not yet finished. Judge Caprio has always been a man of resilience. His life's work has been defined not by how easily he could judge others, but by how he could lift them up in their darkest moments. That same strength, the very quality that made him a beloved figure worldwide, may be the anchor he needs now. For fans and family, the hope lies in the possibility that Caprio can emerge from this storm not broken, but tempered by the challenges he has faced, ready to continue embodying the empathy and humanity that captured the hearts of so many. Looking forward, the uncertainty of Caprio's future creates suspense that feels almost cinematic. Will he continue in public service, in the courtroom that became both his sanctuary and his stage? Or will he take a step back, prioritizing personal healing over public expectation? Every choice carries risk. Every decision will be watched, analyzed, and discussed, leaving little room for mistakes or missteps. For the man who spent his life judging fairly and kindly, the irony is bitter. He is now subject to judgment by the very world he inspired. And yet, perhaps this is the truest measure of humanity. Caprio's story reminds us that life does not offer guarantees, and that public admiration cannot shield anyone from grief, scandal, or the trials that shape our lives. It reminds us that heroes are not flawless, they are human. They are people who feel pain, experience setbacks, and confront challenges that cannot be measured by gavel, fame, or applause. Judge Caprio's tragedy, while deeply sorrowful, is also a testament to the very qualities that have inspired so many: courage, resilience, and the capacity to continue moving forward even when the path is uncertain. For fans and observers, the story leaves a bittersweet resonance. We are reminded to value empathy, to appreciate kindness, and to understand that behind every viral smile or inspiring public figure lies a human being, with struggles unseen and burdens unknown. Caprio's courtroom may have been a stage, but it was also a mirror reflecting the struggles of ordinary life, the heartbreaks that can touch anyone, and the enduring power of compassion even amid personal turmoil. As we close this chapter, though not the story, there is one undeniable truth. Judge Frank Caprio's journey is far from over. The tragedy may be deeper now, the scandals may have shaken faith, but the core of who he is remains intact. There is room for redemption, for healing, and for a renewed chapter that balances his human vulnerability with the compassion and integrity he has always displayed. His story is a reminder that life's harshest trials do not erase the impact one can have, nor do they diminish the love and admiration that millions of people feel for him. The world watches and waits, holding its breath, hoping for the man who taught so many lessons about kindness, understanding, and justice to find his own peace. And as we ponder what comes next, we are left with a haunting, yet powerful reflection. Even heroes stumble, even icons grieve, and even the most beloved figures can face moments that test the very essence of who they are. Judge Frank Caprio's tragedy has grown more profound, yes, but it has also made his humanity undeniable. And in that, there is a story that continues to captivate, inspire, and resonate deeply with every one of us.